Hello traders, this is Alex with the COTlive.com website. I'm going to do a quick study on crude oil actually, but not so concerned about that. But we're going to use my Gann range squaring calculator and use it a little differently, kind of more of a cycle format. Let's go through the website. Again, this is the um, actually the one we're going to be looking at. This is Jupiter, Neptune. The only reason is because that was the only alignment we had last year on the geocentric, not heliocentric, geocentric, right? Earthbound. But we had one coming in, so that's the one I'm going to be plotting, and you can see you can actually plot these, right? 180 back to 0. This was the one that we came in 2022, and this is the 180 degrees that we're going to be. This basically we're going to be plotting this cycle out onto the Gann squaring calculator. Now, if you haven't heard of the stuff that I kind of sell, I provide some online lessons from simple to complex and a good launch point. This is the one we're going to be talking about. This is the W.D. Gann master chart, and I also sell a soybean book, pretty nice glossy format of historical data from 1959. Kind of a contribution to this free site. But this is the one we're going to be looking at, basis the squares. And you can purchase, go back and scan this if you're interested in purchasing the Excel spreadsheet calculator. All right, this is the program. And the Excel, I'm not going to do any advanced stuff, right? Everything we're going to need is on this first page. And, we're not going to do the daily, we're not going to do weekly or monthly. We're just going to focus on squaring the squaring of calendar days, because I think that's the one that's important. You get the market days and you get out too far, pretty tricky to be accurate. Now the calendar days we know are accurate. Oops. Now these I got, again, these are online as well, but these are the actual Jupiter, Neptune. This was the April 12th, 2022, 30 degrees, 45, 45. And I plugged in these. I didn't have those in there, so I had to pull them up on the ephemeris. But this, this is a complete cycle, right? From 0 to 180 back to 0. So we are going to look at these two, and that's the range we are squaring. Oops. That's the range we are plugging into this deal. So we know, using that spreadsheet, that it's 2,361.19 days and time apart from this recent April 12, 2022 0 alignment to the 180 degree or opposition, right, on September 28th, 2028. So I plug that in. I plug the dates in, high, low. I plug in 0 for the low price, because again, we're analyzing this right here. Gann used to call every the pricing was, you can swap price for time. So one point up is the same as 1 day up, or 1 day down is the same as 1 point down. So that's where that I'm deriving this from. So basically, we're studying cycles of 2361.9. Right. Again, this is just something that you can do with the spreadsheet. That's simple, fast. I'm going to save this input because I'm going to put that on my crude chart on the other ones. Again, I haven't done this, so and basically right now you can go 1-to-1. The only difference in these speeds is, as long as you keep it mathematical, it's changing the speed of the chart. Gann used to have to do that manually, right, on his paper chart, because it'd get flying, and penny per day, corn's moving 10 cents, and he was using a tick. So he would actually change the speed right on his chart and change the price format, right? Well, that's what this is doing. You're changing it, by either going faster or slower, right? These are all mathematical: 1 by 1, 2 by 1, 4 by 1, 8 by 1. This is a 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 8, 16, 32, right? So these are divisions of eighths. Anyway, so that we're going to plug in the actual. We're going to go with 30 seconds. Again, Crude's a flying machine. I plugged all the data in already, and we're going to go through it. I'm not going to take too much time and get too wordy on it. I've done this video twice already, and I just get too wordy. A few things we're going to do, though, is since this is the only close or the only important actual alignment for the whole year, I put a little line in here. It's basically $100, we'll call it. And so, for future reference, that's important, right? Because again, if you're squaring something on time, you want to make sure where you're at based on that time. Some people use the first day of the year. Some people like to use some important event, right? But this is the event that we are looking at. So we're going to square these out. And again, we're going to use 30 seconds, right? And you can see if you, let's break it down to a little smaller chunk here. If you use eighths, there is your 8th square right here, and there is your time, right? That's the September 28th. And these are all the divisions and thirds to give you your squares or cycles of that, right? You're dividing out equally. So that's eighths. This is 16ths, right? It shows up on this chart. So again, 16ths. There's your September 28th. Now we're going to go out to 30 seconds and plug in a bunch of time. Again, we ain't going to do any of the advanced stuff because we got plenty of data to work with. So that's how it works. It's simple, right? But it allows you to plug that data in and go to town. I mean, it's simple, fast. I mean, it's hard for me to explain really because, right, this is not a traditional range. But when you plug in 0, you're basically looking at the cycle of 2361.19 all the way out in the future. These are the price structure, right? If you're interested in adding those or subtracting those or whatever from your pricing of whatever commodity or stock or whatever you're looking at, right? So, and again, these dates will be accurate in all markets. Not just crude. I've just plugged in crude because a lot of people like trading crude. I use weekly options on crude only. I'm not a big futures guy. I don't see any sense in the long-term trading crude. Unless it ever gets dirt cheap and it ain't moving, right? Then it might make sense. But when you're flying around 8-10 grand every other week, I mean, there's no reason to get caught up in trading too much futures. Again, you got to put your risk in perspective. So this is the only alignment we had in 2022, geocentric wise. There was a crap ton in the heliocentric, right, where it's sun based, because the Earth travels at whatever 13,000 mile an hour, whatever crazy speed they think we're flying. But this is the crude oil chart. I'm just going to go through this real quick to get an idea. Now, again, you can see we're in a bearish trend. You know, the highs came in March, and you know, it dropped 30 grand, right? So 25 grand. So you got to assume that the bears are in control a little bit. The last few days we had a pretty good pop, you know, 10, 12 grand, 13 grand. Let me see. Oops. All right, I'm just going to fly through this. These X's are these dates right here, right? The first date is, this is the actual square. This is the 1/8 of the subcycle. So that's this date right here, April 21st. And now I also left I also do put solar eclipse stuff. Now this was the solar eclipse back on, it was kind of on a weekend. May 2nd was the Monday. We also had a zone in there. So that's important to me. I use the solar eclipse for everything. Gann, that's how he prospected and called all his big market movers, was a solar eclipse. Chapter 12 in my online lessons that I sell go into that pretty extensively. So I left these on here because they were correlating pretty good. I won't get into those, but if you see these little sun ones, that's what that is. Again, timing. Again, these are all based on this square over here. Missed the high here. We had a double one came in because it kind of fell on the weekend. You know, again, we're dealing with short-term time frame in 30 seconds divided by 8, whatever that is. May 28th, you know, kind of fell on the weekend, so we had 2 basically on one day, which again is important. We had another one coming in here, which I think was important as well. We had some timing coming in here along with some of the other stuff. Now we got back to that close. That's kind of important. We'll call it just roughly $100 for good measure. You know, so if you stay above it, that's positive, and if you get below it, that's negative. We had a zone in here. Hang on, somebody's texting me. It's the wife. Okay. We had this big, huge day. Man, look at that sucker. $13 range. We had, you know, we had some solar eclipse stuff here. We had another timing here, so it's definitely pretty active. We got back up to that $100 level. So if it's a little bearish, that squaring of that thing is pretty key, right? That's, I think you'll find out that that works better than you think. Now, some years you have quite a few alignments. Actual alignments, you know, these aren't really alignments per se, where, you know, but this is the actual where the Earth is in front of the Jupiter and the back month of Neptune, right? It's in that alignment. The Earth isn't in between them. It's actually in line on the other end of them. Anyway, I don't know if that's important to you all, but you can, I'm just going through these. This, again, just coming from this sheet right here. You know, high up here with a little solar, low right here. This one was a tough one, and maybe an indicator of problems ahead. This one should have worked, and it did not, right? And then it just couldn't even get hardly back above it. Poof, took out stops. You know, crude's notorious for that. Some stocks are too. You know, Occidental, I've plotted a lot of stuff for the internet on that. Man, that's a choppy thing too. But again, as long as you have a trading mentality, And you know you're going to have some losers, right? Don't let it get to you. Again, that's why I like those weekly options. You know, they have short-term ones that go off a day or two or next week, but that's what I use. So I know what my risk is. I don't have to worry about a stop. I always try to at least triple my money. So if I spend $1,000, I want to make $3,000 at the minimum. Again, this is a void, right? All these where there's nothing coming in, these are voids. In my mind, I think that means there's no resistance or support. The market can tend to get really wild or get trendy. We had something finally come in here. We had a bunch of little coagulation of stuff. The next solar eclipse came in here October 25th. Kind of a secondary low, right? So you're at least looking for an ABC possible correction if you're a bear. And we did pop it out, so we have a bull trap in place. I'm suspect a little bit. It shouldn't have broke back, right? If it was going to be an extended leg, it should take it out and just kept going. So either one, we are bear trap sideways action, or two, we're in a full-fledged bear and it just popped the stops. That's not a bullish reaction. Again, this one kind of fell on the weekend, but we had, jib jab still acting pretty sick. That $100 little mark across the top from the actual close is starting to get further and further away. We're down, right now we are down 28% off of that data point. Again, we had some solar stuff here, timing here. This kind of interests me. I like things of threes, 3 lows, 3 highs, 3 sideways chop swings. Some reason this one's clicking to me. This is, Gann used to use a 2-day trendline indicator. So that's probably where I'd be looking at. Solar in here, time-wise, we also had another time. Definitely poked. So if you would have bought this secondary event or bought this one down here, and you stayed with it, exercised your weekly option and bought a put, you would probably maybe be tempted to get out of that with the timing. But again, this is where the stops are, right? So be a predator in the weeds, that's where they're going to go after at some point. And of course, it also helps to look at your options on the monthly ones in particular. Where is all the open interest at? If they're at $83 calls, more than likely you're going to see it above 83. We had some more timing coming in. This is getting closer to current. Today is February 8th. This is January 25th. Again, another bear trap, or bull trap, excuse me. Took out the highs. Didn't take out this one, though, but it did take out this one. So again, you watch your open interest levels and volume. If it was a pretty high volume in here and you ran the stops, that's a little bearish. Now, maybe it'll keep going, right? But it shouldn't dick around too long. A few days, and it should be off in the races. It should make new highs, actually, this day, but we'll give it one more day if it doesn't make new highs, and it couldn't. It just couldn't do it. And then it failed, gave up the ghost, big outside down day. Boom, even more follow through. Again, these little time frames should accelerate, not decelerate. Another outside day on this timing. And this is the current as of right now. It's about 1:30. The official close is going to be happening here in a few minutes. And then it trades till 4. And where the Globex finishes off. But the official close will be right around in here. So, and you can see I've already punched in a few other time zones. But that's what I just wanted to kind of give you a sample of how to plug in something different, right? This Jupiter Neptune. It's kind of bizarre, right? And I don't know how many people are probably doing that, but maybe there's a bunch. But that divides it and mathematically squares it out for that range of that how many calendar days are between April 12th, 2022 to September 28th of 2028. So that squares that out mathematically. Perfect. We know it's exact. You can plot it on a chart if you want. But we know these squares of the range, dividing this number out into either 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. You can go all the way down the line, right? As long as it's mathematical, it'll stay true. Anytime you veer from mathematical, then it might still work, but it's not. You don't have no confidence in it. I know these are accurate. But if you're interested in buying this square calculator, I know this is just a simple thing. But you can go to my website here, cotlive.com, cotlive.com, and get over to the WD Gann page. If you get to this page, you go to like astroplanets and go to Gann. There's some links on there that go to a shortcut, and then this is the product page. Again, the lessons are pretty good. The Excel square calculator I use a lot. Obviously, I did this study for my own benefit, and I thought I'd share it with you. And if you're interested, you can help out our website, our free website, by buying this spreadsheet. And we also have the Master Square Calculator, which I use a lot. And, of course, our nice glossy soybean book going back to 1959. All right, I'll sign off. Don't want to keep you too long. Hope you all have a wonderful trading month.